Hello, good morning, and welcome. Congratulations for Tack for getting first. Hello, Tack. Final smile, Eagle, and everyone else. Hello. Hello. Welcome, 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 welcome. Hello to me. Oh my god. Today was a slow morning. Very slow morning. Even though I'm here earlier, because I was like, I'll just do stuff after the stream. Stream first. Weekend after. Yesterday I was in panic mode because I almost forgot that it was Wednesday, so I almost forgot that I had to open my fucking vault on WoW. But then I remembered at like 8 p.m. I'm like, my vault! I got something that was better though, so it was definitely worth it. Very nice, very nice. Made me happy. And then I was reading some Shadow Slave and I was reading some more League lore. Recorded that. Very fun, very nice. Shadow Slave, be crazy. I'm on chapter. Because I feel like it's 16, so like 1600. I'm in the 70s now. 1673, I think, even. So I'm fucking going. I'm going. I love it. I love it. Very fun each time. A whole season? What the fuck? Which one did you watch? A season of anime. Crazy. The Seventh Prince one. Long name. What? Anime Seventh Prince. I was reincarnated as a seventh prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. I see. A blue-haired child. It was very good. Nice. That indeed has a very long name. Dude, that's like my struggle when I post my colorings on Blue Sky. Then I'm also like, when I find a random fucking manga or whatever, and I want to write down the English name, I was like, some of these are fucking crazy. What was it that I did? It wasn't that long ago. Wait, let me see. Reincarnation, stop. Sloth. What was it? Yeah, I made a panel from I time leaped 10 years ago and saved my childhood friend, a young lady, and she became my fiance. I was like, well, that's not a hashtag. So I completely skipped the hashtag on that one. I was like, holy shit. Hmm. But it's not an isekai, right? If he just time leapt, because it's the same. To be fair, it's good reincarnation. Got it, got it. There are stuff like that. Yeah, I always appreciate when the titles are a bit nicer than that. I think it's very funny though. I think that it's funny, but it's very inconvenient for me. But good shit, nice. Well, it must have been good if you watched a whole season. That's very nice, very nice. I have so much fucking. Oh, so much fucking. so, so much anime and stuff that I want to watch. It's always too much, right? When you just want to play WoW. Yeah, I'll have to agree that it is more the title that annoys me more than the reincarnation being a part of the story. Same. Same. I don't mind the whole reincarnation shit. It's like I don't care. I've never been like, oh no, it's this again. You know, it's like, but then I guess I also haven't watched like 200 of them. So I'm not tired of it yet, quote unquote, yet. Um, I don't mind. It's like as long as the uh, stories are different, like there is something that is like unique with this one or unique with that one. That's what matters in the end. Like if it's entertaining. If it's entertaining, it's entertaining. Then who cares? Who cares if he was reincarnation or if his, in what way he was truck cooned? It's like, oh, I don't mind. It feels like a spoiler that takes away part of the world building. What's the spoiler? That he's from another world? What? What do you mean the title? Yes. Okay. Yes. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. One Piece is a spoiler. Oh no. Well, I stopped watching One Piece for that one reason. There's too much slow shit in that. My god. I enjoyed One Piece. I would still enjoy One Piece. But I was like, can we move the fuck on? And then I was just like, ah, oh, no. I'm done. I'm done. Over it. Over and out. Now I only watch my 3 little YouTube men on YouTube. The only YouTube channel that I watch nowadays. Oh, am I downloading? No, I'm not. Whew. My god. I was downloading because there's a new final season. Season 8. And it looks cool as fuck. Like Viking-esque. Winter Soldier. And I'm like, oh. Oh, I'm gonna play finals today. Looking forward to it. Because I can finally buy the battle pass with my gold coins that I've saved up from the previous battle passes. Yay! Dude, the best feeling. And oh my god, I need to spend my money on some League of Legends TFT. I saw that there was a fucking cat arena. It's on PBE. Sadly, I was ready to just turn on my computer and be like, take my money, Riot. I haven't bought anything from Riot in like years. So I was like, I earned this. I want this. The community has a love-hate for it, apparently. It's either or. Either you're like, yes, or either you think that it's the most trash they've ever done. Which is the same with everything that Riot does, apparently. I don't mind, though. I like it. I want it. There's kitties. I want the kitties. Sadly, it was a PB. So I have to wait. RIP. Maybe I changed my mind until then. Riot? Never thought of that. Anyway. A Soldier's Life is what we're reading today. Hell yes. Are we hyped about this? Wow, jolly! The fuck? Hello! Welcome! A small stream. That's how I know I'm up too late. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it so much. Happy to see you here. Holy. Been a while. Thank you. Enjoy the VOD. Then I will say hello to you again. Thank you for stopping by. Have a nice night. What was I talking about? Right. A Soldier's Life. We're gonna read Soldier's Life. Yes. Sleep. Sleepy. Go get some sleepies. Maybe Eric will dream some. Sleep some. He will definitely dream some because he has a cool amulet now that I will tell you about in today's recap. Segue achieved. Yeah, let me see. Let me get everything. Bam. Oh, nope. One more thing. I have some tiny thing on my glasses. That is not okay. Because I will be bothered by it. I'm looking at a white screen. Last time on A Soldier's Life. Eric has a dreamscape amulet, meaning that he can create a dream world environment where he can do whatever he wants while he sleeps. So what does he do with it? Makes Constantine fight monsters while Eric and his old family dog watches. Castiel tells Constantine to train Eric as a scout, either to help him escape the Empire or to try and earn Eric's loyalty. Who knows? We meet up with the rest of the company so we can head out towards the next mission. But to get there, they need to travel on a river. It goes well at first, but after a while they get hit by what seems to be a magical storm. They land the boat and escapes onto land inside a watchtower. And we will see what the fuck they'll do now. Is there something special about this watchtower? Why a watchtower? I don't know. What will they do? How will it go? What about their cargo? Is it all gone? Will Constantine make us train? Yes. That's something that will always happen. Chapter 76. The Elven Ruins of Kylora. Kylora. Two men took the watch at the only entrance to the ruined tower, instead of the 6 sentries we had on the banks of the river. Drifting off, I briefly wondered if the 3 bargemen would be okay waiting out the storm. The banks were clearly going to overflow, and their safety was in question. They should have abandoned the barge and come with us for protection. I guess if that was their livelihood, I could see why they stayed though. The hollowed out tower we were in was not that terrible. Lurkin was even trying to get a fire going under the shelter of the stone stairs that wrapped around the inner wall. He even succeeded, and a handful of men who did not have an oiled legion cloak rushed to make use of the fire. Lurkin started cooking dinner for everyone. It was just a soup broth with chunks of vegetables and salted meat. The heat of the soup was more welcome than the sustenance. I was woken in the morning by a soft kick, and even before I opened my eyes, I knew it was Constantine. Who the fuck else? Come, Eric. We are being sent to check on the bargemen. Constantine had his bow in hand and short sword on his hip. I stood and noticed the sun was not up, but the skies were overcast and light grey. The rain had puttered out to just a drizzle. Can't Castile just use her magic to check? I questioned while getting ready. Constantine muttered. She's sleeping and shouldn't need to waste ether on it. You need practice anyway. See, I told you. Will Constantine make us practice? He will. Of course he will. Consistency. I followed Constantine out of the tower and down the hill. The muddy hill gave way, and I managed to surf the mudslide to the bottom. Constantine just commented, "Nice balance, but avoid the obvious water runoff next time." As we moved into the woods, he whispered instructions to me the entire time. It forced me to walk quietly and pay attention as we moved. He stopped a few times to point out tracks in the mud. Squirrel, rabbit, frog, and even a skunk. Reaching the banks where we had originally camped was just 30 minutes of walking without the heavy rain, but my legs were heavy with thick wet mud. Our old camp was under a foot of water, and a few crates of supplies floated nearby, but most had washed away. Constantine was searching the crates and moving slowly as we checked the river. I whispered, "I do not see the barge. Do you think they took it?" Constantine went to a tree and found a snapped line that had moored the barge. "No," he said. "I'm guessing it broke free, and they're most likely traveling downriver in an attempt to find it." We gathered what we could into 2 crates to carry back. A few times, Constantine abruptly stopped and then had me scan the trees for something he saw. It was usually the movement of a small animal or bird. This led me to point out movement before he had to tell me. The company was packing up and eating a hot breakfast when we returned. Delmar was counting food supplies and figured we had about a week's worth. Plenty to make it to Sobral City over land. "Hello, hack. Barely. You like missed 1 page." "Fine. I'll be nice." Because it's the last stream of the week. So I'll give this one. Remember this moment. I took a bowl of the mush, and Lurkin explained. I cooked everything that got too wet and would not keep. Not my greatest creation, but it will fill your belly. I did not complain and even had a second serving. Damn. Adrian addressed the company when we were ready to leave. We decided the ferry ride was making you all soft. We are heading through the wild country to reach Sobral. This area is known for packs of direwolves. Oh, perfect. Thanks. Constantine tells me we are also going to pass near some elven ruins. Haunted ruins, Constantine added with a smug smile. Adrian looked a little perturbed by the interruption. Yes, haunted. Just a few specters, but they are tied to the city. Blaze asked, What is a spectre? Interrupting again. Castile walked forward. Spectres are incorporeal spirits, weaker than true ghosts. Your blade cannot harm them. Their touch will drain your life force and make your soul into one of them. Stay out of the ruins. They cannot leave the walls. Her emphatic tone did not leave any debate. Constantine patted my shoulder. It is time to learn the skills of a vanguard scout. Yippee. When we walked ahead of the company, Constantine was constantly scanning ahead and above as we walked. Today we will talk about finding the best path and avoiding obvious ambushes. The entire morning, Constantine pointed out terrain features and tracks in the mud from various animals. The largest was a bear. We finally reached an overgrown road. The old paved stones had grass and bushes growing between them. Large trees above shaded the ancient road. We waited for the others to catch up. Constantine gave a brief report to leadership. Just one bear, too small to bother us. There was no signs of the dire wolves, but the rains washed all signs of older tracks. This is the road that leads south to the elven ruins and on to Sobral. Adrian asked, Will the city ruins be easy to get around? Constantine shrugged. I've only read about it. I studied a lot of old maps and histories. The second emperor slaughtered everyone in the city after they refused to submit to his rule. The slaughter was horrific and created the specters. There are still many treasures within, but the deeper you travel into the city, the more numerous the specters. Castile confirmed. We will follow the road. I do not want to go east to Paris. The specters cannot move far from where they were killed. Even if the terrain is difficult, we will go around the city. Delmar just commented. Paris was a legion hall, and we could resupply there. Castile shook her head like they had already been over this argument a few times. We were going to head south. We had lunch and then moved down the overgrown road ahead of the group. Constantine nodded. Noted. The Empire. The Empire. I was thinking of the word entire, not empire. My God. Okay. We had lunch and then moved down the overgrown road ahead of the group. Constantine noted. The Empire maintained the road till about 200 years ago. It took too many resources to maintain for too little usage. Much of the trade goes on the river or through the portals now. Some traders will still risk it occasionally. How much of the Empire is wild like this? I asked as we continued. Most of the Empire is wild. The cities have patrols, and mage companies deal with wandering monsters that threaten the citizens. But Mother Terra moves fast to reclaim what belongs to her, Constantine said quietly and held up his hand. We moved off the road, and he showed me the tracks he had spotted. They looked the same size as the bear from earlier. Direwolf. See, it was just 4 toes. Bears have 5. He swore as he examined further. Dragon shit. And there are at least 2 of them. Notice these 2 sets are different sizes. Castile and the company caught up to us as we had paused. Castile looked at the prints, already figuring it out. Direwolves? How recent? Constantine nodded. Probably 2 hours ago at most. The mud around the prince has not dried out yet, and the rain stopped about then. Delmar asked while scanning the woods. Are they stalking us, or did they just cross our path? Constantine walked into the woods for 100 feet, and I went with him. The tracks remained perpendicular to the road. He returned to report. By the looks of it, 5 direwolves, and they just crossed here. They were not stalking us, but we should find a defensible place to make camp tonight. Castile narrowed her eyes. We are not camping in the ruins, Constantine. Spectres are easier to deal with than direwolves, Constantine advised with a straight face. Constantine obviously wanted to explore the city. Constantine wants some treasure. Only you and Delmar have runic weapons, Adrian chastised Constantine. Everyone else would be unable to defend themselves from the spectres. Castile ended the argument. No. The spectres of Caelora never diminish in number. We must find ourselves overwhelmed in a short time. We would find ourselves overwhelmed in a short time. It was a thought. We should increase our pace then. If the direwolves circle back, they will pick up our scent, Constantine counseled. We changed our formation and increased a quick march. I feel like we're going into the ruins. If not now, then at some point we have to. There's no way we've given it this much attention and just gonna be like, oh, anyway, we're skipping it. The ruins of the Elven city were not far down the road. Massive trees grew within the crumbling stone walls. The road naturally diverted around the walls. We passed the city, and it smelled stale, and a cold, dry air radiated from it, giving me goosebumps. The walls looked even worse than the tower we stayed in last night. One massive tree in the center of the ruins had a huge green canopy, covering most of the city in shadow, and looked anything but inviting. Constantine was to my left, his hand resting on his sword while his fingers played anxiously along the grip. His eyes studied the city, almost longingly, if I didn't know better. Elves kept curated gardens of special trees in their cities. Those trees now have more than 1,500 years of uncontrolled growth since the city fell to the second Italian emperor. I looked up and guessed them to be at least 400 feet of impressive height. Movement in the upper branches caught my eye. I saw it too. Constantine, I saw it too! Eric isn't better than me yet. I'm still the best. Castile, a giant eagle nest in the city. They must be nesting safely out of range of the specters. Word was passed around, and Blaze was responsible for keeping an eye out for the eagles. He was the best archer and also had the best vision of anyone in the company. The dreadful ruins were soon behind us, but we did not slow. I was more than happy to open some distance from the specters. The clouds had finally cleared, and the sun was out, allowing us to dry our drenched gear. We did not stop our march until close to sunset. Constantine directed the company to a defensible hill. We all hacked away brush for an hour to give us sight lines down the hill before setting up our tarp tents. I was glad for the evening meal, even if it was bland. Constantine had me come to the leadership meeting since I was now a scout. Constantine informed everyone. We made about 30 miles today. This road will take us all the way to Sobral, another 80 miles or so. 2 days if we do not run into problems. Adrian advised. We should lighten our packs, drop the extra food, and lean on the Duchess when we arrive. Delmar, who was responsible for logistics, disagreed. We already lost most of the supplies. Half the men are missing a piece of their armor. We are not going to be able to replace anything in Sobral City. There is no Legion Hall there. I still think we should have headed for Parvis. Castile agreed. We carry everything. Larkin said some of the men's shave marks were getting bloody. We're going to struggle to keep up this pace. We have done it before, Adrian said curtly. He was referring to our run to the capital for her tribunal. The sun was almost gone, and a massive howl broke the evening air. We all turned and listened as the cry was answered. Constantine said the obvious. The direwolves. Constantine, now you're now you have to calm down a little bit. We still believe that you are a good scout. They are hunting, but not us. It is too far away. Do you speak direwolf? Adrian said, I'm still going to increase sentries to 9 for the evening. Constantine elbowed me, which I guessed meant our presence was no longer required. As we walked away, he said, one of the benefits of being a scout is you do not have to stand sentry at night. You can still volunteer, but you will not be called on. But before the light of day is completely gone, let's see how much you remember. Yippee. Constantine questioned me on plans around the hilltop until it was too dark to see. I gratefully climbed into my tent, both mentally and physically exhausted. I thought about the amulet, but did not want to be inside it if we were attacked, so I abandoned the idea. I needed the rest, but the direwolves were on the hunt a few miles away. I imagined how fearful it would be for the animal they were chasing. I doubted it was a human, as they would not have to chase a human. I guess an elk or deer. Snarling, barking, and cackling erupted from the woods to the north. I immediately left my tent. I was not the only one now listening intently and watching the dark. Blaze was standing next to me. Gnolls. The direwolves are fighting gnolls. Constantine said cheekily to Blaze, yes, definitely gnolls by the sounds. I'm curious if they are the same group from outside the capital. It does not make sense unless the lone one you killed was the alpha's mate. Blaze shifted uncomfortably. Do not worry, Blaze. The direwolves are taking care of them. It sounded like a violent fight carried by the night air and continued for minutes just a few miles away. Then the direwolves howled in unison, indicating their victory. Constantine assured our camp the wolves would be feeding the rest of the night and we could sleep. I took an oblivion pill because if I did not, I knew I would be having nightmares of wolves the size of horses tearing me apart. Oh, Eric, it's okay. Chapter 77. A Sense of Foreboding. The oblivion pill worked. No dreams. I woke early, and it was probably my best sleep since arriving in this world. Wow. I was even up before Constantine for once. With a glowstone for light, I quietly packed my things. I moved to the fireplace with some embers were still glowing. Huh? I moved to the fireplace with some embers were still glowing. Okay. I stirred them and added some dry kindling to get a little fire going in the chilly pre-dawn air. I was surprised when Delmar came out of his tent, sat next to me, and added some wood of his own. How is your training with Constantine progressing? He asked as the wood started to burn into a healthy fire. I'm learning a lot. He's quite knowledgeable, I replied. Maybe my tone was flat. Yeah, because I was like, I gave that way too much. Or it was how I said it, but Delmar laughed. That well, huh? I argued against it. Even though we do not have potions for you to carry, we should be using your space for something. Hell, every man here is now carrying an extra 20 pounds of food. What? I'm sorry, but how does Eric, being a scout, he can still be a scout and still carry things, no? Or do they mean like, no, we can't because he's a scout now, so he's in more danger, so he can more easily die with all our things? Like, what? He can't carry that much anyway, to their knowledge. So it's like, please. His statement made me feel guilty, because I could easily carry every backpack in the company. It was quiet for a moment, and then I asked. Adrian said only you and Constantine had blades that could injure the specters. In response, Delmar drew his long blade. He was one of the few men in the company who carried a blade over 30 inches. Okay. My own preferred short sword blades were around 28 inches from hilt guard to tip. Thank you for that info. He handed me the blade, and the blade alone was just short of 3 feet, maybe 35 inches. It was also much lighter than it appeared. The steel looked polished, and the blade was well cared for. That is a dungeon artificed blade. You cannot see the runic work unless you heat the blade in a forge, but trust me, it is a magical blade. Delmar said fondly. Back when I was delving into dungeons, it was given to me. It only has one enchantment on it, durability. The blade never dulls or tarnishes, makes cleaning a breeze. He chuckled. I returned it to him. Any type of runic blade is magical and will strike creatures that exist ethereally, like the specters. More water. How do I get one? I asked in jest, and our quiet conversation got a short, loud chuckle from Delmar. There are no master arcane weaponsmiths in the Empire capable of making a runic blade. The last one was Master Bacchus, but he died before I was born. Delmar put the blade into the sheath. He thought for a moment and looked at me seriously. There are 3 ways to get a runic blade, Eric. Kill someone who wields one, delve a dungeon and be lucky enough to earn it as a reward, or travel outside the Italian Empire and find a master weaponsmith who can forge them, paying them a small fortune. So they are valuable then? Yes! He just says how hard it is to get one. That would make it valuable, no? And it's a magical fucking sword. What do you mean? How much would one cost? I asked, hoping to get some comparison to my amulet. It was valued upwards of 6,000 gold. Very valuable. I'm not a trader and too many factors equate to a blade's worth, but most end up in the hands of the first citizens or their personal guards. A simple runic dagger might cost you 100 gold. A blade, he tapped his sheath, 1,000. I was offered as much once for this. Please, my amulet is 6 times your sword. My jaw hung open because that was the reaction I knew he wanted. Is Constantine's blade the same as yours? A durability enchantment? I asked Delmar since he seemed so talkative. No, came a gruff voice from behind me. I jumped at the sound. It was Constantine, and he sat at the fire with us. My runic blade was forged by an elven smith a millennia ago. It is made to overcome the defenses of the undead. I was disappointed he did not draw it to look at it, as Delmar had. He usually used a practice blade or wrapped his blade when he practiced. Constantine put some ham on a stick and placed it near the fire to grill. There was an awkward silence, and then Delmar asked, "You never told me how you came by your blade, Constantine." Constantine grunted. The first option. Killed an elven ranger when I was with the hounds. Took her blade. Had it appraised in the city, and it had a marker's mark of an elven smith. Guess he was famous or something. It is a good blade. He finished with a grunt. The grunt was a signal he did not want to talk further about the origins of his blade. Is that why you wanted to go into the ruined elven city? To test the blade against undead ghosts? I asked, piecing some things together. Constantine had warned me about being fooled by the beauty of elves, and he just admitted to killing one. Maybe there was a deeper story here. Constantine took the smoking ham and ate it. He then answered my question. Some magic blades thirst for what they were forged to do. Mine is like an itch that needs scratching. He abruptly stood. Since you are up early, Eric, we can walk the perimeter together. Constantine obviously did not want to discuss it further. I positioned my pack against a tree so I would remember where it was. Once the whole company woke, I did not want my pack confused with another by mistake. I followed Constantine, and he started to descend the hill. Constantine, should we be headed out there? Just the 2 of us with the direwolf so close. He did not stop, but said, "The wind is blowing this way." He indicated with his hand. We will smell them long before we see them. Besides, we're just circling the base of the hill to look for tracks. I did not know where his confidence came from about not being attacked, but I followed his lead. As we circled, I noticed we never left the sight line of our sentries on the hill. Constantine pointed out a lot of small animal tracks, but it appeared nothing large approached the hill we camped on. We returned to the hilltop after circling the base twice. Once for Constantine to point everything out, and once for me to do the same. He grunted non-committedly when I pointed out something he had missed. I found some raccoon tracks under a small bush, mostly by accident, as I was relieving myself at the time. The company was ready to move, and Castile addressed everyone. We should be at the edge of the direwolf territory. Our goal is to make 40 miles today so we can make 40 miles tomorrow and rest in Duchess Veronica's castle tomorrow night. She got some cheers from the motivational pre-march speech. Constantine motioned me to him. Eric, you're out front, just like yesterday. Do not get more than 50 paces ahead and retreat if you sense or see danger. I am going to serve as a rear sweeper. We may be moving out of the direwolf's hunting grounds, but something still does not feel right. He looked back down the road toward the ruins of the elven city of Kellora. We separated, and I was on my own after only 3 days of training. Yes, we were on a level paved road that ran fairly straight, but I was out front and would be the first to encounter a threat. I knew there were worse things in this world than direwolves and gnolls. I spotted some old wagons in the woods just off the road a few hours into the duty. I waited for everyone to catch up. Constantine arrived, and we both moved into the woods to explore the wagons in a clearing off the road. There were 3 wagons, all weathered and damaged. Constantine moved slowly, discovered remains of a small creature beneath a pile of leaves, and then examined the wagons. There were some sealed jars and decaying linens. Castile, Delmar, and Adrian joined us when he had signaled them it was clear of danger. Constantine grunted. Not direwolves, or there would have been more damage to the wagons. Not bandits, or they would have taken everything. I'm guessing whatever happened here, it was about 2 winters ago. Long ago. So, an old merchant caravan? Castile asked while looking into the decrepit wagons. Most likely. They circled their wagons to camp. Whatever took them, the attack came when they were sleeping. At least 6 horses, by the bones and corroded weapons in the area. Maybe as many as 20 men. Scavengers picked the bodies. Even though the site is old, I suggest we get far away from here before making camp, Constantine advised. He looked uneasy at the mystery. Adrian suggested again. Maybe it is time to drop Axe's supplies to move faster? Adrian just wants everyone to suffer at this point. Damar countered. No, we are a large enough group that we are scaring off most threats. The supplies are needed. We can give double rations today to help lighten the load. Do it, and have some men search the wagons. If they did not take the trade goods, maybe there is a lockbox in the wreckage somewhere, Castile ordered. Lockbox? Firth and Willie joined Constantine, and I as we searched the wagons. Everyone else was on the road eating. I found a plain gold ring on the ground, still around a finger bone. I sent it to my dimensional space without telling anyone. Who is he gonna give it to? Probably just sell it. Gold. Firth found the lockbox under some rotted boards in a wagon. We brought it to Castile and forced it open. Water and time had damaged the documents, making them mush. But there was a fair amount of coin. The fates must be smiling on us, Castile murmured. The chest contained 26 large pieces of gold and a huge assortment of smaller coins in gold, silver, and copper. Damn! She fished out some jewelry and 4 essences from the moldy mass of paper. I recognized them as 2 minor strength essences, a major fortitude essence and a major constitution essence. Adrian said softly to Castile. The 2 strength essences should go to the new legionnaires, Quentin and Remus. Castile nodded and handed them to Adrian, who went to deliver them. Castile handed a major essence of constitution to Delmar. Although I hate to reward bad luck, give this to Dante. Dante had lost a small fortune when his backpack washed overboard with his gold share from finding the dungeon. It should take the sting out of his loss. Delmar turned and left on his delivery mission. Castile held the essence of fortitude in her hand for a few moments, considering. Then she placed it in her mouth. I knew she rarely took physical essences, but it appeared today was an exception. Castile turned to me. Seems I have use of your dimensional space. You can store the lockbox there until we reach Sobral. She closed it and handed it to me. I nodded and sent the box to my space. We returned to the road and Castile addressed the company. Fortuna favors us. I will be able to meet your additional pay and replace your lost Legion gear. Grunts of appreciation came from the men. I could see Willie explaining to Quentin and Remus that Castile meant by increased pay. What? And Castile meant by increased pay. A way to buy their loyalty. I could already tell the essence gifts were well received. They had both fought hard on the aqueduct and deserved their reward. They hadn't really fit in too well so far, but hopefully this would help. Brutus looked on enviously, but his time would come. Brutus and the missing Flavius were the only other new members of our company. Castile would have some work to do to earn their respect. As we scouted ahead, Constantine walked next to me, and I asked, how were the wagons left undiscovered for so long? That's what I thought about as well. I was like, what the fuck do you mean 2 years ago? Constantine had obviously been thinking about it and had a response. This old trade road is probably one used by the desperate merchants. The elven ruins and direwolves are likely not the only threats. Most merchants will hire a barge or head west, then north, to reach the capital if they cannot afford to use the portals. He paused. Still, it is perplexing that those wagons were relatively undisturbed and just weathered for years. I noticed Constantine's pace had increased, pulling the Legion into a faster march after us. It must be his way of showing some fear of the unknown. We walked late until sunset, and Constantine directed everyone to a clearing far off the road. He had everyone walk single file and focus, stepping on stones. Constantine's own tension did not help the company while setting up camp. Come, Eric. I will show you how to obscure our tracks on the road. Constantine took me back the way we came. That meant I was going to have to set up my tarp in the dark. The lesson was like reverse tracking. Constantine pointed out things that indicated our passing and how best to hide it. It will not fool an experienced tracker, but hiding the trail will teach you how to move unseen yourself. This, he held up a jar of powder, is spores from a myconid. Myconid? It is a fungal monster. If you breathe the spores in, your nose will flare up and you cannot smell anything for days. Your nose will also run like a river. He handed it to me. Go back the direction we came in and lay a trail across the road. Use about half the jar and do not breathe it in. Nice. Cold water. Is this for the direwolves? I asked. No. We made over 40 miles today and are likely out of their hunting range from their lair, but any creature that tracks by scent will be foiled by this. Hurry! Be done before darkness comes. Constantine went into the bushes to rejoin the others, and I was left on the road. I jogged 200 yards down the road, laid a thin line across the road, and then returned. I almost missed where we turned off, but carefully made my way back to the company. There were already 8 men on sentry duty. Lurkin did not even start a fire and handed me a ration bar. Brutus came over and helped me set up my tent in the dark as I ate. Everyone is on edge, Brutus said softly. Fear of the unknown, or maybe they know what it is and do not want to scare us, I suggested, nodding at Constantine and the leadership. Brutus looked around at the settling darkness. Whatever it is, I do not like these woods. It feels like something is watching us. We finished getting my tarp up, and he returned to his own just a few steps away. I settled onto my wet bedroll. I kept on my cuirass and put my helm nearby with the glowstone inside. I had to remove my boots and socks to let them air out. I healed my blisters and one blackened toenail. Haha, my god, the pain. I decided to forego the oblivion pill tonight. After Brutus had said it, it did feel like something was watching us. Ah, it's so scary. Oosh. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Chapter 78. City of Sobral. I lay there as the night insects opened their chorus, and the whispers of the sentries drifted to me. If I was not so exhausted, I would have forced myself to stay awake, knowing that tomorrow we would reach Sobral and I could rest in the city. I drifted in and out of sleep as the nightmares I was imagining overcame my need to sleep. I heard the sentries switch late in the night and was about to fade again to sleep when Constantine's voice cracked the air. Everyone to the center of camp! It comes! It comes! He yelled. I slipped on my boots and helm and moved out to the center of camp with my sword and glowstone. The camp crowded together, shields out. When I joined the others, Castile asked, "What is it, Constantine?" "A powerful undead. My sword is warm to the touch in anticipation. The weapon has never been this hot before," Constantine said, unsure of the threat. "How many?" Adrian asked as the rest of the company had a large circle around Castile. "I think just one. Much stronger than a spectre. Stronger than a ghost I fought a long time ago. I do not know what it is, but it is coming from that direction." He pointed his blade off into the woods. Delmar asked, "Do you think it is pursuing the lockbox?" Castile disputed that. Undead have no use for possessions, and it is in Eric's space, so we would not be able to track it anyway. She paused. "Unless it is bound to an object in the lockbox. Then maybe." Thanks. She sounded uncertain. Oh my god. Adrian barked. "It does not matter. It is here." The wall of light that our glowstones made into the thick trees began to waver as wisps of darkness formed into a creature black as the night with glowing red, malevolent eyes. It was humanoid and had elven features. It looked over the company and then focused on Constantine, or more specifically, his blade. It outstretched a hand, pointing, or maybe demanding the blade. Is this the one that you killed? Everyone was fearful, as it felt like death incarnate looking. Okay. Everyone was fearful, as it felt like death incarnate looking at us. But Castile found her voice. "It is a wraith. They are weaker in daylight, so it must have been stalking us. It cannot be harmed with normal weapons, but I think I can bind it with my shadow chains." I forget that she has those. Constantine said, "It wants my blade. I can feel the pull to it." "Don't give it the blade," Delmar shouted. "It is one of 2 weapons we have that can harm it." Yeah, imagine. Okay, here. Take it. Constantine yelled back, "I was not planning to. I just wanted to let you know why it was following us. It has some link to the blade. I can feel it. Maybe it wielded it in the past or forged it." "If anyone has a silver blade, it can also damage the creature," Castile said. I looked at my own blade, and only a few sparkles of the silver coating remained from the were-rat hunt in Matcha. Well, might as well try. Castile started working her spell, and her own wisps of shadow chains moved toward the wraith. One chain wrapped around its wrist, and it pulled its arm to its face. "My chains are not strong enough to hold it. Kill it quickly!" Castile screamed, some desperation in her voice. The wraith howled in rage and lunged forward. Ooh. Its eardrum, piercing scream made it hard to hear the others. Castile added 3 more shadow chains and slowed the creature. Delmar broke the shield wall and swung his runic longsword to meet the creature. The dense black shadow shrieked in anger and attacked Delmar as he danced away. Constantine was at the creature's back and slashed with his own weapon. Hundreds of tiny white sparks flew off the creature, briefly creating a gap in its blackness before it reformed. I felt helpless as I watched. The creature spun, breaking Castile's bonds, and swiped Constantine's arm that was holding his sword. He grunted and switched the blade to his other hand. Arrows were piercing the black wraith at a steady pace, but each one just passed through and did not elicit any reaction from the horror. Firth and Matteo bravely joined Constantine and Delmar to serve as another distraction with their spears. Castile kept summoning more chains to slow the creature. Delmar was attacking the back of the creature, while Constantine struggled with its undivided attention. If it had not been bound and slowed by Castile, I think Constantine would have been in real trouble. Constantine relied on reading an opponent in combat, and this black mass had nothing to read. It just attacked. A backhanded swing struck Matteo. He released a horrific pain scream and moved away, holding his face. Brutus moved in to take his place. No, not Brutus! His spear whipped through the black ghost, trying to distract it. The wraith was getting smaller as Delmar and Constantine slowly whittled away at it. Hundreds of white sparks always accompanied Constantine's strikes. The creature of darkness howled, splitting our ears. Castile's chains faltered for a moment, and Constantine took a blow to his chest and lost his sword. Take it, Eric! Constantine rolled away, but before the apparition could reach the sword, Adrian retrieved it and pressed the frustrated creature again. As the creature shrank in size, Castile's chains became more effective. I felt useless, just waiting for my turn to fight the creature. I considered moving the entire creature to my dimensional space, but that seemed ludicrous. Yeah, maybe not as brave. And it would have to remain there forever, as I could never release it. Well, it would probably be some point where you could, in the future. We were winning, and soon the creature turned translucent and disappeared. Everyone paused, not quite believing we had won against the nightmare. Linus was looking at Constantine. His left arm and chest were completely blackened. The side of Matteo's face was black as well. Delmar had taken a light blow in his hand, and his thumb was black. Castile ordered, "Set the perimeter. I will see to the wounded." What does that mean then? Like, that they're black? Like, are they, like, have they rotted? Like, is that part of them dead now? Like, what is... I moved with her, feeling ineffective in the fight, like most in the company. Linus looked up from the shallowly breathing Constantine. I do not know what this is or how to treat him. Castile knelt beside him, concerned on her. Yeah, like frostbite, like exactly like frostbite or some shit. But it doesn't seem like they know what it is, so. Castile knelt beside him, concern on her face. No, which part was it that I fucked up? Fuck it, I will just do this. Linus looked up from the shallowly breathing Constantine. I do not know what this is or how to treat him. Castile knelt beside him, concern on her face. It is necrotic damage. I have only read about it. Okay. Constantine rasped. Cut to my lungs. There is a greater healing potion in my bag. Linus rushed to get it and was soon back. We watched as he drank it, and the blackness faded to a yellow-blue bruise. He was also breathing easier. Necrotic damage kills the tissue. A strong enough healing potion or a healing mage can counter the effects and restore the dead tissue, Castile explained. Matteo's right jaw was completely black. He tried to talk, but all that came out was nonsense. Benito offered. I have a minor healing potion. Will that work? When everyone looked at him, he shrugged. Got it at the Imperial Alchemist in Tella. Castile considered. It will help a little. Should be enough for him to heal on his own after the potion. Castile sounded more like she was guessing than actually knowing. Matteo's jaw turned yellow-blue, and his speech was slightly slurred, but he looked like he would recover. The company started a fire a short while later, as it was the middle of the night. I somehow ended up in Castile, Delmar, and Adrian's meeting. Constantine was laying by the fire, exposing his upper body and enjoying the heat as he shivered. The potion worked mostly on his chest before running out of energy. His arm was still mostly black, but he could move his fingers. Delmar started the midnight meeting saying, "We should have gone to Parvis." Oh my fucking god. Castile looked angry. "I told you no. The count who rules the city is Octavian's eldest son. Arriving without the barge would pose a great risk. I did not want to provoke a confrontation." Adrian tried to calm the heated exchange. "Constantine can walk, and we can make it to Sobral tomorrow." Delmar regained composure. "We can leave at first light. We will drop all but 2 days of food," Delmar explained. "Now that we have Axe's coin," he pointed at me, we can be more frivolous with supplies." Adrian added, "Agreed. We can get the men who lost armor replacements as well. We were lucky we did not lose anyone. A long day's march tomorrow and we will arrive." He changed his tone a little. "With Constantine incapacitated till he receives more healing, should we assign someone else as temporary scout? Firth or Willie?" Castile considered, then shook her head. "Just Eric is fine for a single day. I am sure Constantine will insist he maintain his duties anyway, even if he wheezes like a boy with lung rot." I was dismissed to inform everyone to drop whatever food they could not eat in a single day's march. It was the best news they had gotten on this ill-fated trip. Everyone had over 20 pounds of food in their pack and eagerly started trading for the best bits. The food they thought was worthless was mostly ration bars wrapped in wax leaf. Over 100 of them hit the ground near the fire. Eric. The company was given orders as soon as the sun rose and headed back to the road. Constantine assigned me rear guard, and I lingered just long enough to move the pile of ration bars to my space. Oh, he did! Yay! I was right. I really didn't think he would. It was a joke. But damn, he actually did. Even if I did not want to eat them, I could always use the wax leaf for soft ass wipes. Wow. I was rear guard, as Constantine had insisted on being out front. According to him, I was to stay about 50 paces back and walk through the woods of the road. My job was scanning the woods to our left, right, and behind. If I saw trouble coming, I would blow my whistle twice to alert the company. The idea was to give them an extra 10 seconds to prepare for a threat. Walking alone in the morning, separate from the company, was a bit nerve-wracking, especially after last night. I kept the rear of the formation in sight and the whistle Constantine loaned in my hand. At midday, the company stopped, and I caught up to them for lunch. Almost everyone was eating some type of salted meat and candied nuts. I sipped my water and munched on spicy jerky that was meant to be hydrated in a soup. It was extremely salty, but had a nice kick. Constantine found me and spent the entire 30 minutes asking me questions. Apparently, I had failed to see the signs of passage in the woods that he left for me. A snapped branch, an overturned rock, a copper coin, and a bit of black fabric. I did not argue and just told him I would be more observant in the future. We reached a road marker, and Castile announced we were in the Sobral province, just 15 miles from the city. Delmar brought me forward, no longer feeling the need for a rear guard. We started seeing farms just 5 miles later, and the road turned to dirt. I was walking next to Firth, and he explained. The plebeians probably pulled the paving stones to build their homes in this area after the road went into disuse. We got a lot of looks from the farmers in the fields. We were a battered legion company with a number of men missing pieces of armor. The road intersected another road along the river. A road marker indicated that the city of Lingnum was 40 miles to the northeast, and the city of Lule was 20 miles along the southwest. The city of Sobral, if it could be called a city, was just a mile along the road following the river. As we approached Sobral, it did not have the fancy Roman arches or columns found in the capital. All the buildings surrounding the central citadel were mostly aging wood. The stone that could be found was coarse cut and not polished. There was no city wall, just a wall surrounding the citadel on the far side of the city sprawl. The roads were not straight, and we had to weave our way to the gates of the citadel. Harpy's tits, Firth swore. That has to be the worst looking brothel I've ever seen. He was indicating a one-story wooden structure with dark blue paint. Its sign read The Nasty Nymph, and the image on the sign left no doubt what they offered within. We found only 2 guards at the large gate. The mortar on the wall surrounding the citadel was crumbling. Castile announced herself, and we were allowed to pass. At least the citadel itself looked to be in good repair, and there were a lot of glass windows on the towering structure. In a wheezing voice, Constantine was at my right and told me, "The count who ruled this city before it was made into a duchy, for Veronica was a mage who specialized in making glass. Shipped it all over the empire." Constantine caught his breath. When he died 10 years ago, the emperor sent a baron to run things. He did a terrible job, and the population shrunk. He gave it to his favorite granddaughter to see how good she could rule and if she could bring it back to prosperity. The young duchess came down to greet us as we entered the courtyard. She had 2 men, both soldiers, flanking her, and a young maid on her side. The duchess wore a bright white dress with blue highlights. Pretty. She smiled as she addressed us. "Mage Castile, thank you for taking my assignment request. You and your men will be quartered in the citadel while you complete the assigned task." That statement got happy murmurs from everyone. We followed the duchess into a large empty hallway with stained glass windows showing scenes of legionnaires fighting various monsters. Our dirty boots and foul odor made it feel like we should not be walking on the polished marble floor. The duchess turned twice down hallways, and we entered a massive dining room with a long table. There were plenty of place settings for everyone. The duchess went to sit at the head of the table. "Castile, if you and your lieutenants could sit close, we will discuss things as dinner is prepared and served." Adrian was brave enough to ask, "Do you not want us to clean up first?" The maid behind her answered, "Baths are being drawn in the guest quarters. We were expecting you by barge and had a rider upriver waiting. He would have given us some warning, but your arrival by road surprised us." The young woman sounded slightly upset. The duchess just smiled and waited while we sat. I was a little surprised when Castile had me seated to her left. Delmar and Adrian were across from us. The duchess sat at the head of the table. Castile smiled and addressed the duchess. "Now, can you tell me why you really wanted us here?" The young duchess smiled. "In good time. Try the Essenheim wine." "Oh, okay." "Hello, Mikey Yank. Damn late again. Don't worry, we still have 2 more chapters to go." Ugh. Chapter 79. The Duchess' Plans. The young duchess delayed the conversation. She waited for the first dinner course to be brought before talking with Castile. A large bowl of split pea soup was placed in front of everyone. "Looks like vomit," commented Mateo from down the table. Brutus slapped the back of his head. "But I bet it tastes good," he added, rubbing his head. Wow. I was not sure of formal protocols with a first citizen or a duchess, so I waited for Castile. Castile waited till the duchess took her spoon before doing likewise. I took my spoon and tasted the soup. It was cold, but definitely pea soup. A little salty, but good. It was so good that an eruption of slurping started down the table. Most of the company were conscripts and never had any etiquette training. Felix even picked up his bowl and used it as a cup. He finished his bowl, turned around, and asked a young servant boy for seconds. The boy ran to the kitchens and returned with a full bowl to the happy Felix. Across from me, Delmar and Adrian ate methodically with just a spoon. I mirrored them, showing manners. Who cares? Castile took a few spoonfuls and put down the spoon. Duchess, why are we here? She asked calmly, but hinting at impatience. The young first citizen nodded. I do need you to place the survey markers for my lands. I have a white marble quarry on my lands and have contracted 2,000 stones to be quarried from it to serve as the markers. I expect you to be occupied on my lands for the next 5 or 6 months. Fun. Hello, Cade. Good morning. Morning. Welcome. I started a little bit earlier today. Castile frowned and considered the task. Will there be an imperial surveyor with us? Duchess Veronica pushed away her barely touched soup, and a servant rushed forward to remove it from the table. There will be an agent from the imperial surveyor's office, an apprentice. He will mark and record each stone as you bury the white marble marker every 120 yards. She took her wine in hand and asked casually, Did you travel down the old road? Castile shifted in her seat at the question. We did. Torrential rains forced our barge ashore. It broke loose overnight. We were forced to come on foot and were required to utilize the old road. Castile admitted. Marcel. Marcel? Apparently I'm Marcel. How the fuck? The hell? That's a new level of autocorrect. That's crazy. Oh my god, I'm calling you Marcel from now on. No! I'm looking at my keyboard and I was like, A is close to S. But that's about it, dude. Marcel. Oh, okay. Fuck. The Duchess. The Duchess smiled. You have been traveling, so you are unaware. But the weather has been askew the last few days across the Empire. The Bardoradian mages have cast major disruption across the Empire by releasing greater elements across the realm. A blizzard in the capital, tornadoes across the plains, heavy rains flattening fields, and titanic waves along the coast. The whole table was suddenly quiet at the pronouncement of the manufactured natural disasters. Adrian broke the silence. Why? The Duchess smirked. Revenge for Macha. Duke Tiberius tore down the city walls around their army. They had heavy losses, and only a few hundred made it out alive. Now the Emperor has committed another 10,000 men to Duke Tiberius to push into the Bardoradian kingdom lands. The Duchess sipped some wine, hiding a small smile. Although this is mainly the cover for the expedition to excavate Atlantium. But you already know about that. Castile looked at me. I looked away, pretending to enjoy my soup. Delmar asked hotly, What damage has been dealt to the Empire from the elementals? The Duchess waved it off. Not much. From what I heard through message sendings, all the cities are fine. The mages successfully held off the most intense weather near the larger cities. The most significant damage was to crops. It will affect market prices for the next year or two, and we will have to import more from the south, possibly open trade with Bhutan orcs. Botox orcs. The table got loud as men talked to each other about the implications until Castile silenced them by looking at Adrian, who barked an order for silence. When silence reigned, Castile asked, Why do you need a mage company to do your survey work? It is allowed since it is an imperial survey. But why? The Duchess ate a blue cracker daintily while explaining. A blue cracker? The survey will serve two purposes. One is to cement the borders of my new province. The second is to keep you and your company occupied for 5 months so Duke Octavian can cool down. I inquired whether you took the road as it had not been used for 5 years. To my knowledge, every merchant risking it has disappeared. Been lurking but tired as fuck, so have a good rest, stream, and night. Thank you, Tack, for the lurk. And have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Castile took her wine and sampled it for the first time. We were waiting for Castile to answer the Duchess and reveal what the Duchess wanted of us. I was unsure what game was being played and was happy to enjoy my soup. Eric is so cute. Oh, we encountered direwolves and a wraith, Castile admitted to the Duchess. Further down the table, Constantine added, and an old war party. Castile nodded at the addition. The Duchess frowned, trepidation creeping in. You escaped a wraith and direwolves. I had hoped for you to subdue the lands along the road. She folded her hands in front of her. The lands north are part of the imperial province. The emperor was willing to transfer them to me if I successfully reopened and patrolled the trade road. She rapidly tapped her index finger on her arm in an apparent habit. Delmar barked out a laugh. You want our company to clear the wilds and patrol the most dangerous road in the empire? I'm not surprised. Castile admonished him with a scathing rebuke. I can handle this negotiation. Ooh. Delmar looked irate as he pushed his soup away to show his anger. Of course, the bowl was already empty. Dude, such a child. Delmar, please. Duchess Veronica nodded. Not the most dangerous road, but definitely hazardous. Was the wraith from the ruins of Kaelora? No, we were dozens of miles past elven ruins, but it might have pursued us from the city. Wraiths are not tied to the place of their death like specters, Castile said uncertainly. I looked down at Constantine, who was focused on using half a loaf of bread to clean his soup bowl. The young Duchess considered. I know there are wraiths. Whites? What's that? Whites? Never seen or heard. And specters within the ruined city walls, but was not aware they ever left the beyond the walls. Castile had a quick response. We are not certain the wraith was from the city, but it did have elven features, so it was an elf in life. But either way, I'm not interested in accepting a mission to kill direwolves and specters for you. If you want the wolves handled, request the hounds. If you want the city cleared of undead, petition the emperor. But I know such missions have failed prior. I took the survey request as a thank you for your help at the tribunal. Delmar nodded, satisfied with Castile's rebuke of the Duchess' expectations of us. The Duchess' finger increased in tempo on her arm, coming up with a response. She finally said, Let me get to the point. I would like to take your legionnaires into my service. I have 200 guards and 10,000 citizens across my lands. I rule this city and 2 large towns. I am tasked with bringing prosperity back to this province. She made a wide gesture. I have unhappy citizens and no exportable trade goods. What about your marble quarry? Delmar questioned, sticking his fucking nose again. Plates with a thick steak with potato wedges underneath were brought out. The men followed the plates hungrily, while Castile locked eyes with the Duchess. The Duchess gestured emphatically. There are 20 quarries in the Empire. Most have higher quality marble and are closer to possible markets. The last count of the citadel produced glass from sand. I cannot replicate that feat. After he died, the Emperor assigned Baron Jacob to Sobel City, who milked the people for every copper to line his own pockets. I need to restore order and gain the confidence of the people. Duchess Veronica was passionate in her speech, but Castile did not seem swayed. Neither did Delmar or Adrian. They were most likely sick of being the pawns of first citizens trying to increase their own power. Most of the company was too busy eating to be paying close attention now, the clatter of knives and forks covering the conversation at our end of the table. I was slowly cutting my meat, but listening intently. "You are trying to lure my legionnaires away from me?" Castile asked with some hostility. "No, not in practice. I just ask that you take every request I send to the capital and work for me." The Duchess smiled. "I just want you to do everything I say, okay? Please." Dude. The more Veronica talks, the more I think that she is bitchy. Adrian swallowed a bit. Company mages only work for the Emperor. You can only contract a mage after they finish their service, and you had Castile's service extended by 10 years. Some heat bled into his words at the end. Castile answered for the Duchess. "Duchess Veronica lacks the funds to hire a mage." Ooh, shots fired! Instead, she wants me to work all her petitions to the Emperor that require a mage company. I looked at the faces around me, and it felt like they were playing poker. I only vaguely understood the process. Assignments for mage companies were generated through the Legatus Legionis office, processing requests from first citizens and other bureaucratic branches of the Empire generated these assignments. The mages in charge of the companies could then cherry-pick assignments. If a mage company was not busy, then it could have an assignment issued to them by the Legatus Legionis office. Castile was never idle, always going from one job to the next. The Legatus Legionis forced her to take the assignment to defend Matcha through the machinations of Duke Octavian. The young Duchess was poised as she continued. "With your funds being cut off, you need a sponsor, Castile, or your legionnaires will accumulate debt replacing equipment, extending their service time. I will support them," she offered magnanimously with a smile. Sure. I probably should not have intervened in the negotiations. Eric, no. But I asked anyway. "How does Duke Octavian have his own legionnaires? Are they part of a mage company, or did they finish their service and were hired by him?" All eyes turned to me, and Adrian answered, "Only first citizens can maintain their own force of legionnaires. They are required to pay for their equipment and must pay twice their salary to the Empire. The Empire then pays their regular salary to them. Just another way for the Empire to fill its coffers. So, not only does the Empire not have to maintain them, but the Empire is paid their annual salary, like a rental fee," I confirmed. Duchess Veronica interjected. "Yes, the legionnaire must voluntarily enter the service of the first citizen. For me, a legionnaire would be paid 20 gold a year to the Empire. They receive 1 gold a month from the Legion Hall." Blaze, who was 2 seats away, gasped. 10 gold a year? That is twice what Castile pays us. Shut the fuck up. Veronica smiled as it was clear she had intentionally spoken loud enough to be heard over the silverware. "So this was all set up to steal my men," Castile said coldly. "I want you to think of this as a partnership, Castile. I cannot afford to steal your legionnaires from you. My finances are such that just maintaining this citadel and guards takes all my resources. The 200 soldiers on my land are poorly trained and poorly equipped. I need you just as much as you need me." The Duchess smiled. Placatingly. Castile considered for a long moment and cut and ate a piece of her steak. She moved the steak aside and went for the potatoes, which appeared grilled. What? She seemed to like the potatoes and ate them one after another, thinking. She finally asked, "How will you make certain that your requests are accepted and I can choose them?" The Duchess smiled, seeing her fish almost caught. "I have a friend in the receiving office. When a message sending is received from me, she will expedite the request, generate an assignment, and attach your company to it at posting. All ducal level requests that are made are always converted into assignments. I am not the only duke who has used this loophole." "What if the Emperor calls for war? Then all mage companies need to report for wartime assignments," Adrian asked, his plate empty. With Matcha and the weathered elemental assault, things are escalating. I cannot see into the future, Adrian. She apparently had done some research to know his name. I wondered if she knew mine. Do you want her to, Harry? But a pronouncement of war is unlikely. Even if we invaded the Essenheim kingdom of the elves, the Emperor would not formally declare war. The political ripples would be too much, and there are not enough citizens to draft without affecting production. Can you keep Duke Octavian from interfering in your scheme? Castile queried seriously. I could sense Castile was weighing her options. Nothing is ever certain, but I believe my agent to be trustworthy. The Duchess was having trouble holding back her smile. It was obvious that Castile was strongly considering her offer. Delmar broke into the discussion. What kind of support are you offering? Potions? The Duchess shook her head no. I cannot afford potions, but I do have a healing mage in my city. An old man with a powerful healing spell form, just very little ether and slightly burned. He is contracted to me and will do all your healing without compensation required. Castile seemed to consider. Not good enough. You will need to hire an alchemist. We need at least lower tier healing potions when we are out on assignments. I cannot cast healing spells. The Duchess winced. Finding an alchemist to come here and set him up would cost hundreds of gold. Seeing this was a sticking point, the Duchess nodded. A first order alchemist then. Give me a month to procure his service though. I will find the coin. I think we can come to an agreement then. Castile nodded as the next course, some type of fish, was brought out to the delight of the men. The two women cemented their new partnership. Damn, okay. Interesting. This is not what I expected to happen. I don't know what the fuck I did expect to happen, but not this. Chapter 80. Still fresh. The next course was thinly sliced sugar beets, baked on top of dense pasta? I always struggle to say this in English. In a cheesy but oily sauce. It added sweetness and crunch to the Roman mac and cheese. It was also going to turn my pea red later on. Okay. Thanks. The pasta was heavy, but it was the best thing served tonight. A few men further down the table were getting louder, drunk on the wine, but no one at the head of the table held them in check. As the rest of dinner proceeded, I had a front row seat to the final negotiations between Castile and Duchess Veronica. The biggest hurdle seemed to be what request the Duchess would submit to the Legatus Legionis that Castile's company would then accept. I listened as I ate, noting that certain requirements needed to be met. It had to be empire business, a monster's subjugation, a benefit to a first citizen, or a defense against a foreign power, in order to be legitimate. Linking a request for a duke was very loosely regulated. When an assignment was accepted, the Mage Company had a certain number of days to complete it. The assignment could be completed quicker, freeing the Mage Company. Our current assignment was slated for a maximum of 6 months due to the distance and work involved. A duke could only have one preferred request active at a time. They would be assessed the Emperor's tax if they exceeded the one request. Since Duchess Veronica was so tight on coin, she could only make one request at a time. The tax was also applied if a request required more than one mage company to complete it. The discussions basically ended with Castile being able to review the request before it was sent magically to the capital by the message sending spell. There was no dessert, just an alcoholic heavy cream drink. I could smell the alcohol coming off it as I brought it to my mouth. I had barely touched my wine but quickly drank the creamy alcoholic milk, but did not feel the expected buzz. I guess I would need to work harder in the future to overcome my enhanced constitution. I would need to work harder. I need to be drunk. The Duchess stood, clapped her hands, and 24 servants, all dressed in her dark greenhouse colors, arrived. The servants will take you to your rooms. You should all have baths waiting for you. There was a scramble as a few of the servants were young women and the men were wore hopeful expressions. Wow. Castile barked, "Hold, legionnaires." The men stumbled as many were drunk. She turned to Adrian. "Adrian, assign each man to a servant, and if I hear of any impropriety or abuse, I will handle the discipline myself." Castile left with the first middle-aged man in the row. The waiting servants had also clearly heard Castile's pronouncement. Adrian started pointing at the servants one at a time, and they stepped forward, and he would call a name. The first servant he pointed at was a graying older man, and Firth was assigned to him. There were snickers from the men as everyone knew his propensity to visit brothels. I still believe he mostly visited brothels in his capacity to work for the Praetorian Guard. Firth grunted something about the nasty nymph, the brothel we passed in the city, as he followed his man out. His man! That was how it went, one after the other, and I waited and waited. Finally, it was just me, Constantine, Adrian, and Delmar. The 4 remaining servants were all young women. That sneaky bastard! Delmar spoke. "Constantine, after you clean up, I want you and Eric to scout the city and surrounding terrain." My jaw hung open. I guessed, as a scout, I was going to have to get used to getting less rest than the others. "You two," Adrian pointed. "Take these men to adjacent rooms if possible." We followed the 2 women in green dresses out of the hall. What do you mean, by the way, that you get less sleep than others? Right before we came here, Constantine was like, "By the way, as scouts, you never have to do fucking guard duty or whatever. Like, you don't have to stand sentry. Then you can sleep." Bruh. As we walked, I noticed that although the citadel had lots of glass, there were not many decorations. Some walls looked like they had square weathering, so maybe a picture had once been there. Missing furniture in the wide hallways was marked on the floor by their outline where they once stood. We ascended wide, white marble steps, following our 2 guides. Both had light brown hair held back in a bun. The green uniform dresses were baggy, so you could not tell their figure from behind. But what the fuck? Because I was like, okay, now we're gonna describe the women. Why are we doing this? There can only be one reason, but damn. We climbed to the 3rd floor and were brought down a wing. This is the guest wing. Each apartment is fully furnished, and we will be available to call on at any time. She paused at a large, deep blue door that I recognized as Tazewood from Tinga. "Ah, Tazewood from Tinga," I said, stroking the door. Eric, please. Please. I was doing this for Constantine's benefit, as well as to show off my knowledge to our escorts. Constantine was unimpressed. "You can have this room, Eric." Constantine moved to the next door with the other servant woman. The servant opened the wide door and waited for me to enter. The room was massive, and the walls and floor were the white marble. And the walls and floor were the white marble that I assumed was quarried nearby. Okay, there. It was my fault. "This is my chamber." The woman motioned to a door to the right. "It is where you can find me if you need anything. If you follow me, I can show you to the bath." I paused to take in the room before following. A massive bed dominated the wall to the left, and a single nightstand was adjacent. A floor-to-ceiling window nearly 10 feet wide dominated the far wall. There's a lot of dominating in this room. We were on the back side of the citadel as the windows looked down into the gardens, onto a garden and a forest beyond the wall. The forest dominated the area. A bar ran in the ceiling over the window, but the curtains were apparently missing. I stepped to catch up with the servant. "Thank you. What is your name?" I said as she walked around the corner. The young woman turned. "Larine, legionnaire." She paused. "May I have yours as well?" "Eric. Constantine mentioned it in the hallway." I said, disappointed that she did not remember. Oh my god. Eric. He's so cute. She smiled at my disappointment. I wasn't sure if it was your name or a term or of derision based on his countenance. I think she just talked down to me, but I was not sure. I guess I was supposed to be the brutish, uneducated legionnaire. Wow. She paused at a narrow door. This is the latrine. Once you use it, call for me and I will empty it. Nej men vad fan. I nodded but planned to shit in the woods when I went out scouting with Constantine. Fuck that. The next room was the private bath. A tub was recessed into the floor. A long wooden table ran along one wall, and a high window gave the chamber light. It was big enough for 2 or 3 people. I thought you did not have an aqueduct. They carried all this water up here. Larine looked at me. 10 boys haul buckets up to the top of the citadel all day. There is a cistern up there. She walked to a spigot near the tub. A servant heats the first pipe coming off the cistern and gives us the hot water. Your water will just be warm as we had so many tubs to fill. I will clean your clothes for you, Eric, while you bathe. Larine waited patiently, and I stripped off all my gear and clothes. She started sorting the items. I settled into the tub, and it was barely even warm. Well, it was water, and I had an assortment of scrubbing devices on the floor near the tub. I took the soap and an abrasive sponge. I washed my hair first and then worked my way down. It sounds... I thought Larine would have left... My bad. I thought Larine would have left as I was ignoring her per Castile's orders. She was still working and always turned away quickly when I looked at her. I sat down in the tub and scrubbed away the 4 days of road dirt. The soap had a floral scent I could not place. Flowers? Larine had placed my pack and all my gear on a table in the large bathing room and finally left. The only problem was there were no towels or clothes to change into. Well, I rinsed off and stood. The bathroom door had a lock on it, and I closed and latched it. I pulled out my clothes and dressed in my nicer clothes. I knew Larine was going to take at least an hour to wash those clothes. I was in a private space and was not going to be disturbed. I decided to take out the dead elf scout from when we escaped Matcha. Huh? Wait, what? When did he pick up an elf? How long has he had an elf? Wait, what? Did he... Is this the one that got fireballed from the sister elf? Why did he take him? What? Huh? Like when else? Okay. Uh-huh. Sure. I would use the collector on him and see if it preserved him for using the device. I was nervous as I did so, and the body appeared on the floor. The elf looked so young, like a teenager. I removed his bow and quiver with elven arrows. His bow was layered wood and much longer than the Legion short bows. The arrows were longer too, so I was not sure about using them interchangeably with the Legion bow. It's not the fireball one. Okay, then I have no fucking clue when he did this. Okay, why is he carrying around a corpse? So, okay, Eric has a thing for carrying around corpses in his dimensional space. Well, I don't fucking know either, but he has one. I cannot remember when, but sure. Got it. That's all the information you need. I placed the collector on his chest and activated it, waiting anxiously. The blue wisps were drawn into the collector, and an essence was formed. It actually had worked. The elf was 8 or 9 days dead, and he still gave an essence. It was a pearly pink and the size of a major essence. It took me a moment to remember light pink was for the empathy attribute. Oh, and we really lack that, so that's good for Eric. He couldn't loot, so he took the body with him so he could later. What? Where? Before Sebastian came? Like when they were in the aqueduct? His name was Sebastian, right? Durand is his brother. On the dragon or whatever the fuck it was. Okay, he wanted to loot some guy and he's like, oh, I'm taking it. Okay, well, sorry for me not remembering. But it came quite, to me, it was quite a shock. Now I was like, sorry, what? During retreat, oh, okay, well, sure then. That was my lowest attribute. I did not hesitate and dropped it in my mouth, trying to ignore the fact of how I had obtained it. The dissolving ball seemed to have a lemony taste that traveled into my brain. Can you even taste lemon in your brain? Before I could dwell on it, the sour sensation faded. Good question. Can you taste lemon in your brain? After assimilating the essence, I felt slightly off, like I was not quite myself. I was kneeling on the floor and noticed a blood trail coming from the elf's body. Shit. Of course, I had stabbed him in the chest to kill him, and he had been preserved fresh. Oh, wait, I remember this. I would have time to clean up the blood after I stripped the body and placed it back in my space. The body was still disturbingly warm, but I pushed past my discomfort. Okay, I have a slide. I kind of recognize this now, but I completely forgot up until this point. I was like, what the fuck? Of course, do you mean to tell me you don't taste lemon in your brain? I mean, fuck, it was a while ago since I tasted lemon, so... Maybe I should give it another try. See. I pulled off his small satchel. It was like a small backpack and had numerous items inside. There was a pouch with steel arrowheads and fine wire wrap. I guess he repaired or even made his own arrows. There was a bag of tightly wrapped food, a roll of thin netting. Maybe it was to catch birds to take their feathers for arrows. A small kit of knives with a whetstone. A few bloodstains on the kit made me think this was for a dressing game. Okay, so this elf was a hunter. A pouch of salt. A pouch of salt. A white shirt rolled tight. The final item was a fire starter kit. I put everything back in the satchel and placed it with the bow in my dimensional space. I took its belt off. Okay. It had a knife and a longsword. I checked the blades, and there was no markings, so they were not runic weapons. The craftsmanship looked average to my untrained eye. I searched his jacket and found a pocket on the inside. A bag with some powder. Oi, 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 oi. It's a party elf. The color and consistency looked like the myconid powder Constantine had given me. There were no healing potions on him. He had an old tarnished silver chain around his neck. It was intricate, and I was not certain if I should take it. In the end, I did, and placed it with the other items in my storage. What do you mean you're not sure if you should take it? You took all of him! What do you mean? The elf looked to be more of a hunter than an army scout. Maybe a civilian recruit to the Bardarian army or a volunteer woodsman. I moved the elf back to my storage. I removed my clothes, not wanting them to get dirty. Then I began to clean up the congelated blood with the spare shirt from the elf's satchel. I drained the bath as it was a simple plug in the bottom and then used the water from the spigot to clean. I even wiped down the tub as it had a layer of dirty soap scum on it. Oh, how nice of you. With the tub cleaned, I quickly used the cold water to rinse my body again before dressing. I guessed whoever heated the water pipe was off duty now. I checked the clean bath and nodded. I unbarred the door and went to the only mirror in the room. I looked a little ragged with a few days of facial growth. I crashed on the bed and waited for either Constantine to drag me out or for Larine to return with my clean clothes. The bed sucked me in and was too fluffy for my taste. I could smell the feathers inside the mattress. I preferred the smell of my griffin down pillow, so I removed it from my space, placed it under my head, and quickly fell asleep. What a nice ending. Takes out a corpse, loots the corpse, cleans the blood away, and goes to sleep with his own little special pillow. Anyhow, well, the new mission will start next time. Interesting. Can you taste lemon in your brain? I completely forgot to fight with the brave. You know what? Me too. Now when you brought it up, I was like, right, that was not in my mind at all. I was like, we've been walking and we had dinner. A nice dinner with a duchess. This would make such a good live action show. Dude, I also love that that Eric was like, I wonder if the Duchess knows my name, you know? And then now with fucking Laureen, or where the fuck her name was, he was like, why doesn't she remember my name? He's so obsessed with women remembering his name now. He's so cute. Oh, I can't. Oh my god. Eric. Okay. My plan is now to do some shiny hunting. I want to get this berserker boy, right? Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. I want to get this little berserker. It's been too long, and I am chill vibing today because it's the last stream of the week, since we don't stream on Fridays this month because I have other shit to do. So let's use this moment, and it's still early. It's not even fucking 9 a.m. right even. Shadow Slave can be a bit like up and down, yeah. Even now when I'm reading, I was like, oh, this was a long chapter, oh, this was a short chapter. These are pretty long. So it was one that we had like this week though that was felt very long. But then it can also feel long, feel less long, depends on what they're on about and shit, what they're on about. What it is about. Like, for example, the Shadow Slave fights, I was like, this chapter never ends. But then if it was a full-on conversation, I was like, oh my god, it was so fast, I want more. So that, of course, changes how I feel about it as well. But okay, I want to do some shiny hunting. I will restart the stream to make it easier for me to edit and download not like a 4-hour long stream. Instead, I have just like a 2-hour long stream. So feel free to refresh. I will make a bread. I need to eat breakfast. So, oh jävlar. Hit my mic. So just get a bread. I will restart the stream. Plug everything in and shit. And then off shiny hunting we go. I am going to terminate the local wildlife so hard, dude. So hard. You have no idea. They have no idea what's coming for them. Reduce the cat population. Exactly. I will leave them shivering on that fucking route. Audience. No, category. What? There. Pokemon. Sword and Shield. So, okay. Quick restarting the stream. Restarting it immediately. So you can just restart it, and I will just run away, make a little bread, and then go back, and there we go. Okay, yay! Thanks so much for watching. For everyone watching the VOD, thank you. No ending wawas because I can't bother. I will do it later when I actually end. So, yes. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube as well. YouTube will be terminated. Thank you. Restarting stream now. Bye.